In your book, Cooking for Geeks, you describe a lot of interesting, unusual cooking tools. Tell me about them, please.
Well, I've got an infrared thermometer, which tells you surface temperature. It's great. I also have a container of liquid nitrogen, which I use for making ice cream. You can make delicious ice cream in about 30 seconds. You can also make great flavored ones. But probably my favorite thing is actually my sous vide setup. Sous vide is French for under vacuum. It refers to a cooking technique where you essentially cook meats and proteins at an ultra low temperature. You can kind of think of it like, well, poaching, but where you set the temperature of the bath of liquid that the sous vide rig has, you set that temperature to exactly the temperature you want to cook the foods to. So things like eggs, for example, they begin to cook around 144 to 158 degrees. And like the perfect soft poached egg is cooked right between those two temperatures. And so if you put that egg into a water bath at that temperature, well then it comes out perfectly cooked. So for me, a sous vide setup, hands down, is my favorite setup in the kitchen. Here's how to make your own sous vide rig using a slow cooker, thermostatic controller, and a thermocouple. It's really straightforward. We're basically cutting the power cord to the slow cooker and using the thermostatic controller to switch it on and off directly. Let's get started. So here's our slow cooker. You need to make sure that you get a model that has a switch where you can leave it in the on position the entire time. The reason for this is we're going to be cutting the power on and off on this. And if you get one of the units that's too smart and it loses its power, when you cycle it back on, it'll stay off. So in this case, cheaper is better. So this guy is the actual brains. We're going to replace the brains that are normally in here, which aren't too smart, with something that's a lot smarter. The way this works is you basically wire in the thermocouple that you're using to take in data from the actual outside world, and then it switches whatever power source you want on and off. In this case, I'm going to wire up an extension cord just so that we can plug the slow cooker directly into the extension cord receptacle without having to cut the power on the actual slow cooker itself. This DC power adapter just provides power to the thermostatic controller. It doesn't actually provide any power to the slow cooker. So there's our DC power supply. And now we're going to cut this guy so we can plug the extension cord into the slow cooker directly. So if that's the power coming in, we're going to take one wire, one portion of this, and run that through the thermostatic controller, which will switch that on and off. And this bit we're just going to wire a nut together just so it closes the circuit. So this is good to go. At this point, once we plug this guy in to power up the thermostatic controller, and we plug whatever you want into here, this thermocouple will then switch on and off the power outlet to this. So now that I have some water in there, it's pretty much plug and play. Grab the power, plug in our thermostatic controller. This actually manages to fit through the lid of this particular unit. You could, of course, take a drill or something else, or even if you're careful enough, you could probably wire this through depending upon your thermocouple. This guy is going to register the temperature of the water in here, cycle this on and off once it actually comes up to temperature. In this case, I have it set to 148 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a good temperature actually for making sous vide eggs. So once the water is at 148 degrees Fahrenheit, drop your eggs in. And they need to cook for about 45 minutes to an hour. An hour later, pull them out. Sous vide eggs. So much of cooking is about the science behind it and understanding it. Of course, it's also about the art of turning out a good meal and having fun and expressing affection and love for your friends. But understand that science really helps a lot. So geeking out and playing with the hardware is a small bit of it, but a fun bit.